All right, get ready for this deep dive, folks, because we're breaking down two crazy showdowns between the Golden State Warriors and the New York Knicks from March 2025.
Two absolutely incredible games that really show us where the NBA is going in 2025.
For sure. Think Steph Curry magic, some really intense defense, even a little Draymond night-night celebration.
Definitely some iconic moments there.
We've got some great excerpts from the Hoops Talk podcast, so whether you're a huge NBA fan or you're just starting to get into it, this one is for you.
You know, these games weren't just fun to watch. They give us a real look into how the league is changing.
Okay, so let's go back to March 4th at Madison Square Garden. Steph Curry was, well, doing what Steph Curry does. Dropped 28 points, 9 assists.
He was unbelievable, especially in that second half.
Yeah, he's basically turned MSG into his own personal playground. And with that win, his record there is 12 wins and just 1 loss. It's crazy.
He's unstoppable there.
Hoopstock was calling him a cheat code. That's how good he was.
Well, he was.
But it wasn't just him. Jimmy Butler and Brandon Podziemski both had 19 points.
Yeah, that's what makes them so dangerous. They've got so many guys who can score. And you can't forget, Draymond Green celebrated his 35th birthday with almost a triple-double.
8 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Not bad for an old guy.
It's like he doesn't age.
Honestly, though, what really stood out to me was how the Warriors just took over in the second half. They outscored the Knicks 67-47.
Yeah, they really showed how deep their team is and how they can just wear you down. And remember, they're doing this without Klay Thompson.
The Knicks definitely didn't go down without a fight, though. OG Anunoby had a huge game, 29 points.
Yeah.
And then Jalen Brunson had 25 of his own.
They played hard, but they were missing Karl Anthony Towns. He was out for personal reasons.
Right, and you could really tell he wasn't there, especially on defense against a team like the Warriors.
They definitely missed him.
And then late in the fourth quarter, the Warriors went on an 11-0 run that basically ended the game right there. The whole energy in the Garden just shifted.
Yeah, the Knicks fans were not happy.
And to make it even more impressive, the Warriors won that game on the second night of a back-to-back.
They'd just played in Charlotte the night before. It's crazy how much energy they still had.
And at this point, remember, they were 9-1 since Jimmy Butler joined the team.
That trade was a big deal.
Yeah, it definitely shook things up. Okay, so let's jump ahead to March 15th at Chase Center, round 2.
This game was a completely different story. It was a total nail-biter all the way to the end. 97-94 Warriors.
Tight game.
The Knicks played incredible defense, holding the Warriors under 100 points. That's not something you see very often.
It shows how good they can be on that end of the floor.
They were locked in.
Draymond was doing Draymond things, though, making big plays, hitting that night-night celebration.
Oh, yeah, you know he loves that.
So the score was back and forth the entire game. Steph had another double-double. He makes it look so easy.
On the Knicks side, Karl Anthony Towns was back. He had 20 points. Him and Miles Bridges, he had a double-double too. They really kept the Knicks in it.
Yeah, they did. But the Warriors, they just know how to win those close games. They make the right plays when it matters.
Hoopstock was talking about how important those little hustle plays were. Guys like Gary Payton II and Kevon Looney doing all the dirty work.
And Jonathan Kuminga hit a huge three-pointer late in the game.
Oh, yeah, that was a dagger.
The Knicks, though, there's a big what-if in this game. Jalen Brunson was out with an ankle injury. And you could really tell he wasn't there on offense.
Yeah, they really missed his playmaking.
With that win, the Warriors were now 14-2 since the trade deadline. They had an 11-game lead over .500. It was starting to feel like they were peaking at the right time. 2 games, 2 Warriors wins.
Yeah, they were looking really good.
But what do these games tell us about both of these teams?
Well, for the Warriors, they're deep. They can score from everywhere. They're tough.
In the Knicks, they fought hard, but maybe showed some weaknesses too.
Exactly.
Let's talk more about that, especially with Steph Curry. He hit his 4,000th three-pointer earlier that month. That's insane.
That's a lot of threes.
It is, so it makes you think, what does that kind of achievement mean for the league? Is he changing how the game is played?
It's a really interesting question, and it's one that people all over the NBA are talking about. There are people who say he's made the game better.
I mean, he's fun to watch.
He is. But then there are those who say that all these three-pointers, maybe it's hurting other parts of the game.
Like, maybe teams are forgetting about how to play good offense.
That's what some people are saying, and it's something to think about.
It's a conversation we need to have, for sure.
Definitely. But before we get into all of that, let's look at these teams and see what these 2 games tell us about their strengths, weaknesses, and what they might do moving forward.
Sounds good to me. Okay, so we know the Warriors are looking really strong, but what about the Knicks? I mean, they played some pretty good basketball, especially on defense.
They did. To hold the Warriors under 100 points, even just once, that's really tough. but I think it shows that there might be a bit of a weakness there, too.
What do you mean?
Well, when Jalen Brunson isn't on the court, their offense just isn't as good. It's like they have to rely so much on Karl Anthony Towns. And even though he's an amazing player, it's a lot to ask of one guy.
So it's like without Brunson, they're kind of limited.
Exactly. Their defense is strong, but if they can't score consistently, it's going to be really hard to beat the top teams in the league.
Makes sense. So let's get back to Steph Curry and these 4,000 three-pointer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just unbelievable.
It is, and it really brings up some interesting questions, like, is this good for the game? Hoops Talk had some pretty strong opinions about that.
Yeah, they did.
You know, Steph Curry is a legend, there's no doubt about that. He's inspired so many young players, and the level of shooting in the NBA is incredible because of him. I think you could even say that he's made the game more exciting.
He's definitely fun to watch.
Oh yeah, for sure. But some people are saying that all these three-pointers, maybe it's hurting other parts of the game.
Like, maybe teams aren't as focused on having a well-rounded offense.
That's right. I mean, remember what those guys on Hoops Talk were saying? Like, some teams are forgetting about things like moving the ball, getting to the basket.
It's like they're playing a different sport almost.
Yeah, in a way it is. Three-pointers are great, but there's something about a well-executed play that ends with a layup or a dunk. It's just a beautiful basketball.
So it's all about finding that balance.
That's it. The NBA can't let the three-pointer take over completely. You have to celebrate Steph Curry and what he's done for the game, but you can't forget about all the other skills and strategies that make basketball great.
All right, so where do these two teams go from here? The Warriors have a pretty tough schedule coming up, right?
Yeah, they do. They've got the Nuggets, the Bucks, and then the Raptors. All playoff teams, all really tough opponents. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that.
It's a real test for sure. What about the Knicks? What's their schedule like?
Well, they're heading back home after that West Coast trip. They've got the Wizards and then the Mets. It's a good chance for them to figure some things out, especially if Brunson is still injured.
Like, they need to find a way to score consistently, even without him.
Exactly. These next few games are going to be important for them. They need to build some momentum going into the last part of the season.
Okay, so we've talked about the individual games, we talked about Steph Curry and his impact on the league, and we looked at what's next for both teams. But I think the bigger question here is, what do these two matchups tell us about the NBA in 2025?
That's the big question, isn't it? It seems like we're seeing a shift towards this kind of positionless basketball, you know, where players can defend multiple positions, they can contribute on offense in different ways. Those players are becoming so valuable.
So, like the traditional positions, they're not as important anymore.
That's right. Look at Draymond Green. He's listed as a power forward, but he's basically a point guard on offense. He's directing everything. And then you've got guys like Jimmy Butler. He can score, defend, rebound, pass the ball. They're the new kind of NBA player.
And what about the centers? Are they going extinct?
I wouldn't say that, but their role is definitely changing. They have to be able to do more than just score close to the basket and rebound. Now they need to be able to shoot three-pointers, defend on the perimeter. They need to be able to move.
So like Karl Anthony Towns, he's a good example of that. He can do it all.
Definitely. Those old school centers, the guys who just stayed close to the basket, they're fading away. The game is faster, more fluid, and being versatile is the most important thing.
So if we had to sum it all up for our listener, what's the big takeaway here?
I think these two games show us that the NBA is changing. The three-pointer is huge. Versatility is more important than ever, and the way we think about positions is totally different. It's
exciting, but it also makes you wonder what's going to happen next.
Yeah, what does this mean for the future of the league? We don't know for sure, but one thing is certain, the NBA is evolving, and it's going to be fun to watch. For you as a fan, you have to be ready for anything. New stars are going to emerge. The way the game is played is going to keep changing.
So we've got these two games, two Warriors wins. What were those final scores again?
Yeah, so 114-102 at MSG on March 4th, and then 97-94 at Chase Center on the 15th for the Warriors.
Two really close games that show exactly what we're talking about.
So for everyone listening, what's the big takeaway here? What does all this mean for the future of the NBA?
Well, I think we're seeing a whole new era in basketball where versatility and three-point shooting are so important. Teams that can adapt to this new style, those are the teams that are going to be successful.
And it's not just the players, right? Coaches and front offices, they need to be able to find and develop these types of players.
Exactly. It's a whole new way of looking at the game. And the crazy thing is, it's still changing. We don't know what the next big thing is going to be, but it's going to change things up even more.
It's exciting to think about. I mean, who would have thought a few years ago that we would be talking about 4,000 three-pointers like it's nothing? The NBA is always changing, and that's what makes it so fun to watch. That's right. It's a league that's always trying new things, pushing the limits. And for fans, that means it's going to be an awesome ride.
So to wrap things up, we took a deep dive into these two great games between the Warriors and the Knicks. We saw Steph Curry continue to be amazing from three-point range, Draymond Green showing how important versatility is, and the Knicks playing some really tough defense.
But even beyond the individual games, we saw a glimpse into what the future of the NBA might look like, a future where being able to adapt and change is crucial.
And we hope this deep dive gave you a better understanding of what's happening in the NBA in 2025. It's a league that's changing, and we know it's going to be exciting to watch.
So as you watch the NBA, think about this.
Mm-hmm.
What does this new era of basketball mean for your favorite players, your favorite teams, and the future of the game?
Something to think about, right? And who knows, maybe someday we'll be doing a deep dive on your insights into the NBA. Until then, thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next deep dive.